And she said to me, "You're making him wrong because you have planted your flag in the land of right, according to Joy." Welcome, everybody, to today's show. We are talking about taking responsibility for everything that has happened to you in your life. And before you tune out, you're like, "What, Joy? What is this topic?" I want to encourage you guys to listen in, because this is a huge piece of what I do when I coach clients, is helping them become more empowered by owning their emotions, owning their experiences, owning the story they're telling themselves. And I promise you guys, this is the path to freedom in your life. Because here's the deal. When people do things in our life and make choices or say things or respond certain ways that we don't like, it triggers a response in us. It triggers an emotion, a response. And then we go down this other rabbit hole based on what they just did, right? So we're constantly just in reactive mode, reacting to people around us. And as long as you're in that position, you are playing the victim in your life. And when you're playing the victim in your life, you can't make your life what you want it to be, right? Because you literally don't have the power. You literally don't have the control. You can't decide what they're going to say. You can't decide what actions they're going to take. You can't decide what they're going to do or how they're going to respond. And so therefore, you constantly feel like the victim in your life. You feel like people are always doing things to you. You feel like life is always happening to you, and like you can't make any kind of traction or change in your life. And the secret to turning this around is to instead take 100% responsibility for everything that happens to you. Because when you do that, you take back power over your emotions. You can own how you feel. You can own how you respond. You can own how you show up. And then and only then can you actively create the life of your dreams. So that's why I want to talk to you guys about this today. You cannot show up as a victim in your life and create the life of your dreams. They just don't go together. So you have to pick which one you're going to be. And every day you get to make that choice all over again. And with everything that happens, you get to keep making it and keep making it and keep making it. And so I'm going to give you guys my own example of something that I just went through. I know I've talked to you guys about the 7-step forgiveness process before on the show. And so we will be digging into more of that today. And we're going to use the example from this last Friday. So I'll give you the backstory. Peter and I have a house that's a rental house, and we have had it as an Airbnb. And so we've had it fully furnished, and it's been making money on Airbnb, and it's been something that we've had to manage. And honestly, it's been a lot of work. Like, yes, it makes money, but it's been a lot of work. We've had to do a lot of the managing. We've had to make sure we're walking through and checking up on the cleaner and all of this. But it has been a blessing. Now, when Corona hit, nobody is staying in Airbnbs. Nobody's traveling. Nobody's renting them. So we had that rental home making us no money for like the next projected 4 months. And we realized, oh boy, we need to change our plan if we want a different outcome. So we quickly pivoted and we decided to turn it into a long-term rental. And we were hoping to rent it furnished because, like I said, this place is fully furnished. It's full of furniture. It's got bedding. It's got towels. It's got a complete kitchen, like all the stuff, right? Now, we were fortunate to hire a management company that found us renters. So step number one, we're like getting help, right? We're no longer trying to manage everything ourselves. We got managers, they're managing it for us, and they found someone that wants to rent it, but this guy doesn't want it furnished. So all of a sudden it's, oh boy, what are we doing with the furniture? And he wanted some of the furniture, but not all of it. And immediately it turned into this big thing because my husband is very much the type where he wants to show up. He just wants to work really hard. He wants to get it all done and do it all himself. And I'm very much the type like, why are we spending our time and our hours doing this when we could hire people that would help us? And like, then we don't have to have this kind of added stress on our life, right? Now, the way this whole thing went down is that we hadn't communicated very well about what the plan was. So we showed up at the house this last weekend. He went there before me, and then I showed up late and I was like, what's the plan? Because I see him starting to move all the things and he's acting like this is a move and we're moving. Like we're moving a whole house in like a week because we have a week to get everything out of there. And immediately I went into, I can't believe like you're wanting to move all of this into my current house. That's just going to add more stress onto our plates right now. And right now we're already stressed trying to manage everything. And like, we don't need the added stress. We should be like selling this, which he agreed we should be selling it. But I was at the point where I was like, let's just give it away. Like we don't even need this furniture. We've been so blessed. Other people have given to us in the past. Like, let's call up some family members and see if they could use it. And like, let's just give it away. And he was like, what? Give it away? Like we spent so much money on this furniture, which he's like one of the most generous people I know. So like, don't hear that and think that he's not. He is. He's the one that's taught me to be generous. But he also knows like we shouldn't be stupid with our finances. And when we have invested a ton into this Airbnb, a ton into this house and like the furniture, he doesn't want to throw that away. So that's the perspective he was coming from. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, but like abundance. And like, I've changed so much in the last 6 months. And like, I just have open hands with things now. And I feel like we should just trust God and like give back and like all this stuff. So I'm over in like this land of like, we don't need it. We're so blessed. We're so taken care of. Like, let's just give it away. And he's in the land of like, I've been the one who the majority of our marriage took care of the finances. And I'm the one that made all of this happen from, the majority of our marriage, he was the primary breadwinner. So from his perspective, it was like mostly on his shoulders financially to make it happen. And so he's like, and you're telling me like, we're just going to up and give it away. And it was making him feel very devalued, right? So we come to this crossroads and I'm like, well, I don't want it in my house. Like, it's just going to mess with my mindset and like my headset and I don't want it in my house. So like, we'll get a storage unit. And he's like, so we're going to pay to store it somewhere where we could store it in our basement. Right. And I'm like, yeah. And so like, we came to this total crossroads and I left and we weren't in the best place. And so I messaged my coach and I'm like, okay, help coach me through this, because I don't know how we're going to get through this when we both have two such very different perspectives. And honestly, it's because I've changed so much. Like I've changed so much and become this person that like, I could be a minimalist, you guys. I want like nothing around. I want very minimal stuff around. I love my space to feel just like open and fresh and clean and like no clutter and like none of this, all this extra crap like around, right? And he grew up with like nothing. They went hungry. He didn't have toys. And so his parents are hoarders. They're like legit hoarders. And so he comes from the background of like, hey, we might not have this. Like we might miss a meal. We might go hungry. Like we might need this someday. So we should hold on to everything. So I can't fault him for that. So I'm like telling my coach, like, this is what he comes from, but this is where I'm at. And so like, how can we do this and like work through this? And she responds with like a 2-sentence text and was like, your entire perspective is what's wrong with this situation. You are making him wrong for being who he is because you have planted your flag in the land of right according to Joy. And I was like, ugh. Well, like I expected that because that's her job. She's a really good coach. She's not here to coddle me. She's here to help me change my perspective so that I don't have to be the victim, right? So that I don't have to suffer emotionally, because when I'm upset at him, it's not him that's suffering, it's me. I'm choosing to sit in yucky emotions. I'm choosing to give myself those emotions by staying upset, right? So she's helping me change my perspective so that I can change my emotions. And this is what coaches do. So then she calls me and she's like, okay, so you need to walk through the 7-step forgiveness process with him right now and realize that you have changed a bunch. And now you're trying to hold him to agreements that he has never made with you. And he is just being him and doing the best that he can. And you're angry at him for being him and responding out of what he knows when he's held a lot of space for you to change. He's allowed you to change. And so what do you need to do as far as flipping your perspective? So we walked through the 7-step process, and I'm going to tell you guys so that I get all the steps right. I'm going to flip to my pages here. I'm going to walk it through with you guys because this will change your life. Anytime you're upset at someone or anytime you feel like they did something wrong to you, When you can walk through this quick 7-step forgiveness process with them, it will change your perspective. It will allow you to own your emotions and take your power back. Because when you respond negatively to somebody else's words or actions, you give your power away. Literally. So step 1 is state your complaint as a story. So my story was that he was wanting to hold on to all this stuff and not just trust that God would take care of us and be abundant. And he was having to make this so hard and so complicated instead of taking the easy way. And he was just being stubborn. That's my story, right? Step number 2, identify the lens at which you look through this story. So when we're kids, this kind of goes back to the passengers on the bus, we take on lenses that we see the world. I had taken on the lens of I am nothing from a pretty young age. And that translates to I'm not valuable, I'm not worthy, like I'm not lovable, all those things. But I am nothing is the lens. So I'm looking through the lens of I am nothing at what he is doing, and I'm looking for proof to back up that I am nothing. So I'm looking at this and being like, see, I'm nothing. He doesn't want to even listen to what I have to say. He doesn't want to respect the fact that I want something different, blah, 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 right? Step number 3 is put yourself in their shoes. Why would they be this way? Well, that one's not super hard. I'm like, I know why he's this way. He was a scared, hungry little boy growing up. And so his natural tendency is to survive. His natural tendency is to make sure he doesn't go hungry again. It's to make sure he has enough, right? And so he sees this and he's like, what? How could I let go of this? I might go hungry again. I might not have enough, right? So then I can have massive compassion for him because I can understand like he's literally just doing what he knows. Step number 4, notice that you are holding them to agreements they never made. When we got married, we never made this agreement to live a minimalist life. We never made an agreement on like, we shall only have this much stuff in our house. We never made those kind of agreements. And so here I am having changed and wanting to live a new way. And I'm expecting him to uphold this agreement that he never made. And so it's wrong of me to expect this from him when he never sat down and said, yes, Joy, I sign on the dotted line. I will do this. This is the agreement, right? So I have this unwritten rule book of life. We all do. That's like Joy's rules. And when I'm upset at other people, it's because I'm holding them up to this little rule book and being like, hey, this is my rule book and you're not living up. But that's not fair because my rule book, just because it's my rules, doesn't make me right. And when I want to hold on to being right, that means somebody has to be wrong. And when somebody has to be wrong, everybody loses. Okay? So I'm holding him to agreements he never made. Step number 5, my opinion is my source of suffering. When you can become neutral about everything, you guys, you will no longer suffer. You will no longer react negatively to other people. You will no longer let things get under your skin. So I have to look at this and go, my entire perspective is what's causing me anger right now. It's what's causing me to not feel valuable. It's what's causing me to not feel like I matter, to not feel loved. It's my entire perspective doing that. It's not him. So how can I change my perspective towards him and change my perspective towards how he's showing up and change my entire perspective about the situation? What other options are there? Like, why is this a negative thing in the first place, right? Start questioning why you're even upset in the first place. Start asking yourself better questions. So I had to change my perspective and say, how can I look at this through love instead of the lens of I am nothing? How can I look at this as an opportunity for me, for us, instead of a burden? Then number 5 is note that your opinion is your source of suffering. Oh, we already did that one. Never mind. Doing it twice. Step number 6. Where have you been a hypocrite and done this to him or somebody else? And maybe not in the exact way, but somewhere similar. And I was like, well, I'm being a hypocrite by holding him to a standard that he never made and expecting him to act a certain way when we've never even had a conversation about this. We've never even made any kind of agreement about this. And so I'm being a hypocrite and expecting him to respond a certain way when I won't even respond a certain way, right? So that's being a hypocrite. Step number 7 is express gratitude for the situation and for them and ask their forgiveness. So step number 7, I was like, well, I'm going to express gratitude for this situation because it is expanding our relationship into new conversations that need to happen, possibly new agreements that need to be made. And that will bring growth to our relationship, right? This is like an opportunity for us to actually grow closer and to actually design more of the life that we want and the future that we want. And I will ask his forgiveness because I was wrong for responding this way. And I was wrong for judging him for his response. And I was wrong for expecting him to meet some sort of agreement with me when I've never asked for it. We've never had this conversation. So I called him up and I was like, I was wrong. Like, how can we make this work? Like, maybe you could move everything into our house for the rest of May and then it has to be out by June. Right? Like, how could we come to how could we make some sort of agreement here instead of making one of us right and one of us wrong and making there be like a winner between the two of us? Because you guys, that does not promote a healthy marriage. Having there be a winner and a loser never promotes a healthy relationship, right? So I just wanted to share that process with you guys because this is how you take responsibility for everything happening to you and changing your lens and changing your perspective on it, because literally it always comes down to your perspective. Your perspective can cause you to have an amazing life. Your perspective can cause you to suffer through your whole life. And it's only ever your perspective that's causing that. It's nothing else. And I wish I had known this long before, because it would have empowered me when we went through our story to change a lot faster and to become a lot happier and to be way more empowered in the decisions that I was making. And this is the work that I work on so much with my clients is, yes, we acknowledge the hurt. We acknowledge the pain there. We acknowledge the false identity that we took on about ourselves. But then we go back and we reframe by owning that we told ourselves that story. Even if our parents said something or did something that gave us that impression, we are the ones that took on that story. We are the ones that decided to believe that. We are the ones that from then on told ourselves that. And so when we can own that, then we can change our lives. Then we can decide, you know what? I want something new. I want to tell myself something new. I want to change my life. But you're the only one that can give it to yourself. You are the only one. So that's my quick lesson for you guys today. I hope this helps you. And if you're still thinking about coaching, definitely reach out. I have a couple of spots left. And I have a couple spots left in my Instagram Mastery Group coaching course, which I'm so excited about because I'm not only going to be working on stuff like this with you guys, but I'm going to be teaching you how to write content that sells on Instagram, how to be literally talking to people about their problem in a way so that they want to buy from you instead of just be motivated by you. We're going to be all collaborating together. It's going to be like this awesome sisterhood. It's going to run for 6 months. I'm going to bring in some guest speakers. And I'm just really excited to help some ladies who are serious and ready about like blowing up their business this year, get to that next level. Cause that was me. I was so hungry for like the real success. I'm talking 5-figure months, like $10,000 or higher a month, right? Like, let's go, girl. I want to help you get there. I want to help you up level. I want to help you start seeing that business is possible for you, that you can do this. So like, let's go and let's make Instagram our new best friend. I was going to say something else, but I'll say best friend in getting us those sales. So go over to my Instagram, joyharrington.ig, and send me a message. I would love to chat and see if we're a good fit. Everybody have a beautiful day. If you love this episode, don't forget to share it out on Instagram stories and tag me. I would love to show you some love and to hear what you love the most from this episode.